when you want creativity to thrive, I would abandon meetings. So many things that can be put across in a meeting. It doesn't need to gather loads of people in a room together. I think from a creativity point of view, to get the most out of your team is probably to not stick within the rigid stereotypes of how a lot of creative businesses do operate. I think my understanding and from my experience, the best creative ideas come from people who perhaps don't often operate the best in traditional settings. Time is so important. I think when it's interesting looking at when the best ideas do come to me or other people who are similar to me and have tremendously valuable creative ideas. They often come at the silliest of times, so when they're walking their dog or when they're going for a run. And they certainly don't come, I don't think anyway, when they're sort of in a situation that applies some pressure to make them come up with a creative idea on the spot. Meetings can be fatal, I think, for creativity, and I do see it still a lot now. People are brought into a creative room, they're given a brief from a client, and there's a requirement to come up with a creative idea and make a decision within a half an hour time period. And I think that's so sad, because I think so many great ideas are lost in this methodology. So my advice would be to allow time and to allow the ideas to flourish and come out. Don't be in a rush to make big decisions when it comes to creative, because even if you just give it an extra 24 hours or 48 hours, the best ideas will come. I just think it's super important to really emphasize my first point, and that is that from experience, the type of person that does come up with the best ideas and which actually end up being the creative ideas that get used and create the most value, they come from a type of person who shuts down under normal traditional business circumstances, and there's almost like a throttle around their creativity. So adapting, and I don't think you need work pods or sleep pods or office slides and all that kind of like stereotypical stuff like the Google Office setup to allow this creative person to operate best. I just think it's, again, going back to the first point, it's about giving time, accepting that might be an initial cost. You might think, oh, I don't want to give the time to spend on delaying getting the results back to the client, but I actually think that the ROI on spending a further 48 hours will be huge. It needs to be a clear understanding between everyone in your team that there's no pressure to come back to the table with an idea, and there's various systems you can set up to implement this, so various different communication channels. But it's just so important. Give time. So many ideas are lost to urgency, and the best ideas do come if you just give a little bit more time. 24 hours. Let people go away. Be on their own. Don't put them in situations that will completely throttle their creativity. Let them have time. 24 hours, and I promise you'll get the best ideas. I go back to this point time and time and again, and it almost sounds quite tiring, but it's such an important point, and I've seen it work so well. And I would say that when you want creativity to thrive, I would abandon meetings. So many things that can be put across in a meeting. It doesn't need to gather loads of people in a room together. And if you're bringing all your best creative people into a room, the chances are that that's not an ideal scenario for that particular type of person to thrive. I would abandon meetings. Email around the brief to everyone on your creative team and give them 24 hours. You can have a meeting if you like, but I think it's so important to accept that any type of like social pressure, certainly the case for me, certainly the case for a lot of people I know who end up delivering the best creative results. Social pressure really is like a throttle around their ability to think. And if you just give them time and give them the space to go out, be on their own, and then let them communicate the ideas back in a way that's safe and most effective for them, often just through an email. And I think that's a really effective idea for communication.